I don't need you to respect me because I earn my respect. I will never demand it, but you don't have the right to disrespect me.
That's sad.
I don't expect you to value me. I value myself. I just need you to recognize my value. I need you to keep me emotionally safe. And keeping me emotionally safe is the biggest thing in a relationship. However, and I stress this, your partner will keep you emotionally safe, but do not make them your best friend. Because the minute you become too emotional, and a lot of therapists are going to hate that I say this, but the minute you become too emotional, the minute you become best friends, sexual desire lessens. The higher the emotions and the emotional connect, that little bit of sexual awareness, a sexual desireness goes away. So you have to be aware of that. And the most important thing to understand with this is exactly this, that to be sexually attracted to each other, you need a little mysterious. So that mystery has to be there a little bit. And if that's not there, if you're too emotionally safe, you might lose that.
Oh my God, that's so interesting, because usually people say that, you get married to your best friend, you should be the best friend for your, spouse, but this is so different, but it makes sense. Like,
Your best friend needs to be your best friend. Your spouse needs to be your thrilling lover.
right.
Okay? It can be your friend, just not your best friend.
Okay.
So don't go getting too comfortable, because that's a little unattractive.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you're going to get canceled one day. I'm having it. And
Not at all.
Yeah.
So tell me, when a couple they come to you and they say, our sex life isn't working, what do you help them explore first? Emotions, biology, mindset, or something else?
Okay. So honestly speaking, the first thing I go to is biology. I do have endocrine workups done. I do that with all of my clients before they even arrive, because I think that a lot of anxiety disorders, a lot of depressive disorders could actually be hormone imbalances. So I like to do a full endocrine workup anyway. So even if a couple comes up to me and says that their sex life is not working anymore, again, I will look at what meds are you on. So I look at I will look at the pharmacology and the pathology, and then I will look at the psychology.
Interesting.
Okay? So we'll understand first, is that happening? The second thing we will understand is exactly what I just spoke about. Are you too comfortable with each other? Are you taking each other for granted? And then the third thing I will look at is if there was any episode of trauma, any infidelity, any traumatic situation that arose that led to it. And the fourth thing that I will say, now you've talked about this, and this is the narrative and the mindset, is actually this, that, okay, do you want to go back to pre-marriage sex? Because that's not going to happen. Are you going back to pre-baby sex? Because that's not going to happen. The same way that everything transitions and everything evolves, so does sexual desire. So that doesn't mean that you're losing sexual desire for each other. It means you just have to switch it up. So that's when I start doing sexploration with them.
Okay, interesting. And what role does cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, play in resolving intimacy issues?
So it's wonderful, because CBT is basically cognitive distortions and core beliefs that are negative in nature. So I address those beliefs that'll be behind why you're feeling the way you're feeling, the thoughts that are guiding. So what happens many times is we will be feeling something and it's not valid. There's no evidence to actually prove that it's valid. It's just a core belief or a negative thought that's come from somewhere. And so it's about reframing those thoughts so they work in your benefit. Look, I say this all the time. I'm not God. I cannot get rid of your trauma, but I can definitely tell you that the quality of life is dependent on the quality of your thoughts. So I'm here to work with your thoughts so that I can help you reframe them to just live a better quality of life and understand who you are from a different lens, a lens that's not distorted.
Interesting. And that's very difficult to do, to help people identify that it could be one trauma which they think it's a story of their lives, but actually not.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shai, for someone struggling with this, in this area, who should they reach out first? A sex therapist, a psychologist, a gynac? What is the first step? And how do they know?
Okay. So most people that are struggling with this will actually reach out first to a friend. And they will try all of the things that the friend says, but the friend will eventually say, I'm not an expert. So then they will go to Google, which is the worst place to go. But I would say that understand where the sexual dysfunction is coming from. There are 4 ways to look at this. If it is because of physical, contributing factors like dryness or tightness or pain, go to a gynecologist. If it's coming from body image issues, you have two choices. You actually can go to a nutritionist and take responsibility for it, or you can go to a psychologist and talk to them about how you're feeling about the way you look and the way you feel. If it is because you do not connect with your partner as much as you're feeling that your partner doesn't feel that you are as desirable as you were, talk to your partner directly. And if that doesn't work, then you can go to a sex therapist or to a sex coach or to a counselor.
Interesting.
So that is a pathway I would recommend. But there is nothing wrong with also automatically going to a sex therapist or to a sex coach and saying, hey, can you help me out? Because that one intake session might just work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you feel that couples today are expecting too much from each other, emotionally or sexually? Or do you think they're just communicating a bit less?
So you know what? I believe that when couples should be talking to each other the most, they shut down. I do believe that. I think that they are avoiding conflict. They're avoiding a lot of conversations that should happen. And that is also because social media, Instagram, the phone, our brains are so wired and so on all the time that when it comes to the brain actually being on with your partner, it's just not interested.
Right.
So it's more actually the brain just shutting down. You're not forcing it to, it's just happening.
Right.
And then what happens is that couples start to get confrontational instead of conversational. And so I do believe it's more the challenge of communication today. We don't know how to communicate. We even listen to respond rather than listen to understand one another. So like I said, the emotional safety net is the most important thing. So it's not that couples are too emotionally safe with each other. They're not there yet. And second of all, they're just, I think they just kind of accept and get into that routine of, okay, less sex is okay. Less communication is okay.
They don't have to. Right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
It shouldn't be that way.
Okay, so tell me what, according to you, is a healthy frequency, to have sex for a couple?
Okay, so I'm going to say it this way. I'm going to say that sexual desire and libido and intimacy, frequency is very individual based. I don't think it's gender based either. Like a lot of people come up to me and say males have a higher sex drive. That's not true. I think females have an equally higher sex drive, especially later on in life, when the hormones start to shift over. I focus a lot in perimenopause and menopause, and it's unfortunately, it's sad because when women want it the most, it actually tends to physically hurt the most because the estrogen levels drop and the wetness and the vaginal dryness and all start to appear. So basically what happens here is I think a healthy sex life is, I would say it's dependent on where you began and keeping it as consistent as you can. So even being married 29, 30 years, if you can even have it once a week or twice a week, slot it in. It doesn't have to be spontaneous, but make time for it. That to me is a sexy and a healthy sex life. It's very sexy to actually make time and slot in a sexual encounter. People think it's unsexy if you do that, but that's not true. I love the fact that even with my partner, we have a timing that is allotted to that. And unless we both have something really challenging, we're not going to let anything intrude on that time.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, it is. So sometimes it's sexy to timeline something.
Interesting. I had that question written down and you've answered that. So thank you. And what are the signs of sexual disconnection that couples often ignore?
I would say the first thing is where couples only touch each other when they're about to have sex. Sexual disconnection is where you don't hold hands, you don't whack the butt a little bit, you don't kiss each other for that 1 second before you leave. If you kiss your partner for 6 seconds, oxytocin just starts to grow in your body. So I think it's touching only when you're supposed to touch. I think it's also not talking or being sexy with each other. I think it's where you don't flirt with one another. I think it's where you literally start to perform sex as an act of a task or a chore rather than something instinctive. Because even if it's an arranged marriage or a love marriage or a best friend marriage or a thrilling lover marriage, whatever it is, we as human beings, like I said, the main thing is we love touch. All these love languages with the words of affirmation, the service, that's all great. But the two biggest love languages are I get you and I got you. And if I get you and I got you, that will lead to you wanting to even be physical with one another. So
interesting. I would say that. Okay. And why do you think more and more couples, especially younger ones, are seeking separation or divorce today?
Tolerance levels have completely reduced.
But has it anything to do with their sexual desires disconnect?
I think that there is a shift in polyamory, consensual non-monogamy. There is a shift towards that. And there's a shift towards polyamory as well, that people do have multiple partners. There's a shift towards open marriages. But I don't think these in any which way, these sexual orientations or sexual philosophies impact divorces or separations. I think divorces and separations are happening more now today because the institution of marriage itself has kind of gone through its own transition. I think people want to live with one another a little more. I think that people don't want the responsibility of a marriage as much anymore. They also don't want the responsibility of a house or a car. People want to be asset light. They want to be experience heavy, So I think it's also the whole philosophy behind it. I don't think it's necessarily impacted by sexual orientation or sexual disconnect or sexual desire. I think it's more so this is connectivity and connection based more on other aspects, not necessarily sexually.
Okay, interesting. And in your opinion, what leads to cheating in a marriage?
All right, so cheating, that's a loaded word. Cheating has multiple references to it. Okay. I don't necessarily believe, and again, I am telling you one day, God knows. Anyway, I could say such controversial things, but okay. The person that is cheating is not necessarily in the wrong. Sometimes they are the victim. All right. The one that had the affair could be the victim. All right. And I say that because there is such a thing as reactiveness to a certain situation where you might be trying to fulfill needs that were being unmet. And you have tried to have them met within that institution, but they are just not being met, either through dismissiveness or through, I would even say, disrespect, or through multiple conflicts. And then you go outside and you find it, and then you are ostracized for it. I think that, what leads to cheating is two-part. One could be the, personality or the biological, need to have multiple partners, which then, yes, that is something that you have to work on and understand. And the second could actually be what I explained earlier, just a reactiveness to not having fulfilled needs and not being appreciated enough. But honestly speaking, today infidelity is not what it used to be, in the sense that in the earlier generations, like our parents' time, it was actually forgiven.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we get into a phase in society where it's absolutely not.
Yep.
Now it's neither forgiven nor is it absolutely not. It's accommodated. So we've moved out of the I accept it or I deny it, because I'm not superior to you to accept or deny anything, but we've moved into the, okay, I can accommodate it, but I want to understand it.
Okay.
How do I stop it?
So isn't that a smarter way to look at
Much.
always, and more practical rather than more emotional?
Absolutely. I always say we have to shift from how dare you do that to me, or what are you doing to me, to why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding.
Is there any connection between the kind of relationship a person saw between their parents growing up and the kind of relationships they create with their spouse later in life.
Absolutely. It's not only the relationship that you have seen your parents and you emulate it, but it's also the relationships that your parents had with you. Attachment styles are completely dependent on your childhood years, on your teenage years, on the way your parents were with one another, on the way your parents have been with you. They not only determine your partnerships, they determine your relationship with yourself and your relationship with life. And that's why I always say multi-generational trauma is the hardest trauma for me to work with, because I don't see the parents. I only see the child who is now still a child, but in a young adult body or an older adult body, and keeps resurfacing as the unprotected child, the angry teen, and they keep coming in all of the relationships. And then I get asked that age-old question, I only attract assholes. Why do I only attract assholes? And I'm like, no, you attract everybody. You only choose assholes. Why do you do that?
Yes.
Why do you choose the toxicity? Why do you choose the pain? You choose it because that's what your central nervous system is used to. For you, peace is boring. Chaos is the norm.
How did it
That's
change?
natural. Through therapy. A lot of therapy to understand that, no, wait, chaos is not natural. Just because you grew up in a toxic environment with dramatic, emotionally imbalanced relationships, it doesn't mean that that's the norm. Your CNS is dysregulated. And your mind, no matter how much messaging, it's not going to work. So that's why, no, you don't have general anxiety disorder. You have PTSD, and anxiety is one of the symptoms. So we work with your trauma. We work with your stress. Pain is the greatest power if you process it effectively.
I agree. But I have to ask you this question, and I know a lot of women, not just in India, but globally, a lot of them have gone through, sexual abuse as a child. Not everybody is brave enough to talk about it, or probably even when they are in their 30s, 40s, they've not shared it with anybody, but they still live with that feeling. Do you have a message for them? How can they process it? How can they, even like after so many years, they can get out of it?
So the first thing is, of course, as I said, to understand you're not violated by sex. You're not violated by touch. You're not violated by the act. You're violated by the man that did all of this. You're violated by the woman that did all of this.
Yeah.
Men have also been sexually abused as children. Females